There was a lot of memorable moments, but a lot of them occur from the rookies or the quarterback and staffer. Not too many from Cooper Kupp. It was a rough season for Cooper Kupp. He had to deal with the hamstring, missed most of training camp. You know, he missed the first 4 games of the season, and then after that, he had a couple good games, but not he wasn't a dominant, triple crown winner or the offensive player of the year that he was in 2021, or even last year before the injury. He was a receptions machine. He was doing all the work, and now he could barely get a catch or get on the same page with Matthew Stafford. So that's the engagement question of the week. Should the Rams look to move Cooper Kupp? He still has a massive contract, but I think he might have some trade value. Maybe that could be an option there. But we'll get into it. But for me, I feel like maybe it's an injury. You know, maybe if you kind of see Cooper Kupp as a guy who's going to be a number two, that's fine too. He's making a lot of money for it. That kind of stinks, and it could also hurt your salary cap. But you got to have a veteran leader like Cooper Kupp. You got to have somebody to help out Puka Nacua. Without Cooper Kupp, I don't think Puka Nacua has that type of rookie season because Cooper Kupp told them, okay, this is what Sean McVay wants. You better freaking block. You better able to fit into 11 personnel and do everything you're asked of. Like, you're a wide receiver, but you're also a tight end and you're also a blocker. So I think that came into play. But then again, a coach, who's making that much money, maybe it doesn't make sense. But I think for me, give Cooper Cup one more chance. I want to hear from everybody in the chat, or if you're watching
Yeah.
the replay, should the Rams look to move Cooper Cup? If you say no, I'm on that side. But if you say yeah, I can see why. He's making a lot of money. He really struggled a year ago. But then again, maybe they won't have many options because of that contract. You can always restructure. You can always say, hey, we'll give you more money up front. Just kind of lay off the back end, and maybe we could cut you in a year, things like that. But you never know.
Yeah, and it'll be a fascinating offseason. And I think it starts with this question here is what do they do? Because we've seen it in the past, Gilbert, with this team where they'll move on, they'll pay somebody. You saw Jared Goff, he had a big contract. They were able to get rid of him, move him to the Lions and get Stafford. Same thing with Todd Gurley. They were able to move get off his contract or pay him off, give him some good money and kind of release him. So, we've seen this from this organization. We'll see. I think it's a little bit of a different thing here with Cooper Cup, just because he was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams. He is he's incorporated himself into the community. And so, you don't hear a lot. I understand that Aaron Donald's been here the longest. He came from the St. Louis days on into LA as well. But I think that the difference is the fact that he's also like the guy that people go to speak. Matthew Stafford just got here a couple years ago. Aaron Donald doesn't really speak up much outside of just retweeting stuff on Twitter or stuff like that. So and with Cooper Cup, he's been like the face of this team for since the time they've been here in LA. So there's also that. It'll be interesting to see what their decision is, because I think I would say Cooper Cup is, since the Rams have been back, he's been the most popular player on the Rams since the time he got here.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And I know obviously there was days where Todd Gurley was really popular and he was really dynamic. But Cooper Cup has kind of seen everything from the LA stint. Obviously he came back in 2016. He was drafted in 2017, and he had to work his way up a little bit, so it didn't take him too long. But he did see kind of how things got started. Playing at the Coliseum, going to SoFi Stadium, things like that. But yeah, in this business, you could get old really fast. In this business, people could give up on you. You mentioned Goff and Gurley, and Stan Kroenke has the pockets to eat dead money. So when you look at the dead money, you think, wow, no team's going to take that on. When it comes to the Rams, they could, and they could afford it because of Stan Kroenke.
Yeah, and I'll share some our guy Delbert Salgado. He says absolutely not should the Rams move Coop. He's a pro and knows the work to get back. He's under contract till 26. Yeah, yeah. His final year is 26, and I'll give you and Rams were patient to rehab Gurley. Tell me Coop doesn't deserve the same, and I'll give you the numbers right now because I wrote them down, Gilbert. Just In 2024, he's owed 29 over right under $30 million. His cap hit is 47 million. And if you cut him post June 1st, it's $17 million. And then next season is where you can kind of cut him because it goes down, the salary goes down. So I think I would say you're pretty much stuck with him. But as we said, you have Stan Kroenke money to where you can eat some of that money if you want, but we'll see what they decide. And everybody in the comments will get to, and we have Alonso Takanga saying Cooper Cup is done. We'll talk more about that. Stream Shaft, who's a Lions fan, he says time to move him while his value is high still. I don't think his value is that high right now, Gilbert, just because he's coming off a lot of injuries, and so I think you kind of want to build his value up so you can trade him the following offseason. I don't think this is the offseason, but you
I don't
never
know.
know.
I think age also matters. Like I feel
Yeah,
like by the time next year comes, he's a year older. So I don't know. Maybe you could flip him from I don't know. I don't think you get a second round pick. Maybe you get a third or a fourth. If you think that's worth it, and just kind of get rid of the contract and get a pick out of it, or just say, hey, take on the contract, give us a fifth or sixth round pick, and then you move on. You have more cap space to go sign a wide receiver. I'm trying to think of anybody who's good out there. I know Mike Evans. He's a little older though. He's good though. He's older. Uh, Marquise Hollywood Brown. I don't think he's the right guy. So maybe it might be a quiet uh, free agency for wide receivers, but it's gonna be a really tricky dilemma. I think you could flip them for a draft pick. I think so, but it depends. Like, do you want something that's valuable, or you just want to get rid of the contract, or hey, it's not even worth it?
yeah, we have Henry Camacho here. I agree about Cup, although the Rams are good at moving players to where they want to go. So that's also you need to have that conversation with him as well. Just because I think he's like I said, he is well beloved. I think he deserves at least that level of respect. He's also a Super Bowl MVP. He's the reason you have a Super Bowl here in LA as well. And so that's another thing to kind of consider. So we'll see what happens this offseason. It'll be fascinating to see what happens with Cooper Cup. We have Michael Armenta, who we talked about. What is this move Cup talk? Dude hasn't healed properly. He will be back with the Ventures next season. And Gilbert, I'll say this about Cooper Cup. I won't be. We brought it up in the post game show, but I won't be surprised if we hear that he played with either a strained hamstring or whatever a bad hamstring the whole season, and I think he'll either have surgery or he'll have a whole off season to be able to kind of rest it, and I just think we'll find something out in the next couple of days about his health.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little tricky because it's not like it's like a knee thing or I don't know because or an ankle because I feel like when you have such a sensitive ligament with the hammy, like you can't really do much.
Yeah.
But it could be something where, like, for the first month when he came back, he was like, "All right, I'm not gonna push it here. I'm gonna just run my routes as best as I can." But that's what I do is get open, but I can't right now. And then by the time that maybe he got properly healed, could have been like, all right, Puka Nacua is the focal point. I'm a little late here, and this guy's balling. Let me do something else and kind of help out that way. Maybe never got in rhythm because just the miscommunication and the lack of connection between Stafford and Cup was really off and weird because they've had such a dominant connection from 2021 and 22 that kind of just fell off because Stafford, once he likes somebody, he really commits to that person. That's why people break records with him. And I'm
Yep.
not saying he force fed Puka. He did not because that's why the offense was so good. But they were balanced, and some of those carries, we're going to Kyron Williams, and you're a little more run heavy. And then you need to get other people involved, like maybe a Tutu or Demarcus Robinson or a Tyler Higbee. So it's easy to get lost in the shuffle, but you're right. He might come out and say, "Yeah, that hammy took longer for me to kind of heal, and maybe there's something else that maybe came through. Maybe it's an ankle, maybe the ankle from last year. But it is a little strange, but I also know in this game in football, people get old pretty. Football people get old. There you go. Uh, when you see and the thing with him though, he doesn't rely on speed and being athletic. He relies on being a technician. So that's why I'm okay with willing to bet on him for one more year and not say it's father time.
Yeah, and I'll say this, Gilbert, to your points there. one of the things that I saw, and shout out to Solak from the Ringer, and he pointed out that the Rams ran 95% motion against the Lions, and I think part of the reason you saw a lot of motion from the Rams is because they realize that Cooper Kupp doesn't have its explosiveness, and they need to get him open somehow because of that. And yeah, part of the reason there wasn't a connection there, they missed on those connections with Stafford, was because of that. Like they put him so much in motion, and also that was part of the reason why those two timeouts had to be called uh, in the third quarter, was because you're running so much motion and you're doing that in an environment like Ford Field where you can hardly hear. That has something to do with it as well. I think that if we, and Cooper Cup isn't going to make the excuse. He's not. I'm just saying, like, you're going to hear him that either he's going to have surgery, or that he wasn't healthy the whole season. But he's not going to say it. Someone else will say it. It'll either be Sean McVay or someone else if they're asked about it. But just looking at how they were running the offense, it just told you that they pretty much realized that he just didn't have the same takeoff, and that's why they prioritize Puka Nacua.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing to be number two in a very explosive offense, but we'll see how they do it next year.